A minute and a half opening comments, a minute and a half to answer questions, and then a minute and a half for closing comments. And we'll let ladies go first again with your opening comments. Andy?
First of all, I'm really amazed that anybody's here tonight. Happy Valentine's Day. It was 37 years ago tonight that I met my husband, Robert. And so this is a real special day for us. And thank y'all for joining us for our celebration. We're glad you're here. It was, and you know what, I mentioned that for a reason. Because of my family, because of my husband, my 3 daughters, and my 5 grandchildren, soon to be 8, that is why I am running. I love America. I'm so proud to be an American. I am really, really proud to be a Texan. And we are just a few bad decisions away from making Texas just like any other state. It is very, very important that we keep Texas, Texas. And I am enthusiastic about that. I am guided by my core beliefs in limited government. I'm dedicated to fiscal responsibility, and I have an unshakable commitment to defend defenseless life. I am, you know where I stand on things. I have a conservative voting record already, as I've served you on the State Republican Executive Committee. Those ballot propositions that he mentioned, I have already voted on those. I had to vote on them as a part of the Resolutions Committee. Is that your time is up or time's almost up?
We've got about 10 seconds.
Sorry, I didn't know. Did you know?
20 seconds.
Okay. So I would ask for your vote for House District 89.
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't explain. I'll try and hold this up about 15 or 20 seconds.
Okay.
John?
Good evening. Happy Valentine's Day. Would like to wish my wife happy Valentine's Day. I told her, I said, this is the first in 27 years I've been at a forum for Valentine's Day. There's a first for everything. My name is John Payton. I have been your Justice of the Peace, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to serve you and have been honored to serve you the last 27 years. The cornerstone of my 27 years of service has been public service in the community, working with all civic organizations, Lions Club, Kiwanis, Rotarians, Chamber of Commerce, and school districts, the Collin County Republican Party, working with over 80,000 families here in Collin County over the last 27 years, with a 98% success rate of getting kids back home, off drugs, and graduating from high school, making them helpful, making them a part of an engaged community rather than being disconnected from the community. Also, as a Justice of the Peace, I have been able to work within the law for the last 27 years, having to understand the intricacies of the Constitution, not only the Texas Constitution, but the U.S. Constitution as well, having to understand what it means, the 14th Amendment, when it says equal protection under the law and due process. And I want to go down to Austin so we can continue that fight. And then not being afraid to go down to Austin, as I have over the last 10 years, fighting Democrats like John Whitmire when he's tried to pass legislation that would ruin Texans across the board. I want to go down to Austin to help the citizens of HD 89 and the citizens of the state of Texas. Vote JP for HD.
Thank you. And John, we'll start with you on the first question. These may sound familiar. What distinguishes you from your opponent? And please be specific.
My community grassroots involvement, walking door to door, putting out signs at 3 in the morning for lieutenant governors, attorney generals, land commissioners, local state senate races, House district representative races, working side by side with Jim Rowe after I beat him in the primary in 1991, putting those old-fashioned yard signs together with the sticks and the nails. How many of us remember the splinters we would collect from putting those together? I have put together probably 30,000 of those yard signs. And it's been recognized by our local party. Not only was I your victory chairman in 2014, but also in 2016. It's hard for an elected official to be recognized as a grassroots supporter of the Republican Party, but yet I've won every single award in Collin County that can be won, except one, the precinct chairman's award, because I can't be a precinct chairman. I've won 3 county chairman awards. I was the first recipient of the Fred and Maisie Moses Award, and am one of the only sitting elected officials to receive the John McVeigh Award, which is the highest award for grassroots lifetime work in the Republican Party. Our distinct differences are that I have been in the community working for 27 years, hand in hand, with our community leaders, with our parents, with our students, and have made the grassroots where I come from, being endorsed by the Wiley Grassroots Tea Party this last week. Grassroots is where I've always believed it is and should be, and I want to represent the citizens in Austin and do the same thing. Again, vote JP for HD.
Thanks, John. Candy?
I've had the opportunity to serve alongside of so many of you here in Collin County. I've been a precinct chair and president of a Republican Women's Club. I've donated to many, many campaigns, and I've worked those campaigns hard. As a result of that experience, I was elected to serve you on the State Republican Executive Committee, and it's something I've done for almost 8 years, and I've been proud to do it. It's an expensive thing, and the expense is out of my own pocket, and I have done that gladly. As a result of that, and even prior to that, I spent a good bit of time in Austin promoting the Republican principles, our priorities, and our platform. I have testified before the Texas House and Senate. I was there with Jody Lovenberg when she was fighting for House Bill 2. I am proud of that experience that I've had in Austin, and I have been enthusiastic about the things that make Republicans and conservatives successful and the things that make Texas successful. I'm not only a political volunteer, but I'm a neighborhood volunteer. I serve on the Juvenile Justice Board for the state of Texas, and I volunteer a good bit at my church. And I don't just volunteer, but I put my money where my mouth is. I support several pro-life women's ministries, and I'm very, women in crisis pregnancies, and I'm very proud of that. Those things help me be prepared to serve you in Austin, and I'm ready to.
Thank you, Candy. And you're up again. If I don't mess up, which there's evidence there. Share your view of property rights and the use of eminent domain.
I'm so glad you asked this, because this is, okay, I'm gonna go on a little tangent here. Did you know that taxpayer lobbyists, that taxpayers paid for almost $41 million last year in Texas? Taxpayer money. A lot of that was spent fighting eminent domain and the passage of the eminent domain bill that passed. It was absolutely necessary. If you bought a home and you're not in a city and you bought that home on purpose, how dare a city decide that you're now going to be under their inside their city limits and in their under their property taxes, and without your decision, without your vote? It's really kind of not very smart of them, because you do get to vote after that. You're going to vote some of them out of office, hopefully. But absolutely, I'm opposed to taxpayer-funded lobbyists, and I'm opposed to eminent domain, and I'm looking forward to real property tax relief for our voters and for our citizens in Texas. It's unfortunate when it's like if you own your home outright, you really don't, because you're having to pay more and more property taxes year after year as your values go up. I've spent too many minutes at doors hearing from people who are afraid they're not going to be able to stay in their homes, and that is un-Texan.
Thank you. John? And by the way, if I need to repeat the question, feel free to ask.
December 6th couldn't come fast enough. And I was on the ground floor, grassroots, with Aaron Johnson and Empower Texans, helping bring information and knowledge to the forefront to stop cities like McKinney from trying to go out and land grab before December the 6th, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the fact that I stood up for Texans and stood up for individual property rights by putting it on the airwaves. We spent more than 2 to 3 days each week talking with Aaron Johnson and Empower Texans on the air, fighting cities, trying to go out and land grab all over the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Individualized property rights is essential for us to remain Texans. You start taking away our individualized property rights, you might as well call us Californians. And no offense, but I'm good with being Texan, and I want to stay that way. Individualized property rights, eminent domain is unbelievable. And if it's not kept in control, not kept in check, and if municipalities are not held to state law that was passed and put into effect as of December the 6th, then we lose the battle. I will stand as I always have for the people within our community to protect not only their individual property rights, but their constitutional rights as well. Again, JP for HD.
All right, and John, you get this one first. Describe the key components of Senate Bill 2 as passed by the Senate in the 85th session, and share what property tax reforms you will advocate for if elected.
The big thing on this was the tax rollback election. And a lot of people don't realize, but there's only half of your property taxes that actually are automatically kicked in to a tax rollback election, and not the other half. The entirety of your property taxes immediately need to go into a tax rollback election without having to have a petition signed or have the community come together. Your rights should be protected. Local control is imperative. And local control by, I mean, voter control. We should be able to take care of our business. And at 4%, when they start to exceed or go above, at 8%, we need to be able to immediately go into a rollback election and bring the cities back in so that we're not being overtaxed and taxed out of our homes. That's number one under Senate Bill 2. Number two, we're talking caps, and we need to be able to protect, again, the individual property owners' rights in Texas by not taxing them out of their homes. First of all, it's not constitutional to tax us out of our homes. There was a little party not too long ago up in Boston when they tried to tax us right out of our homes, right out of our businesses, and we cannot allow for this to happen. We need stronger protection. We need stronger protection against municipalities and other taxing entities that will try to use the lack of caps or the lack of a rollback election to continue to push our taxes up and take away our homes. Again, JP for HD.
You're going to do that every time.
Yes, sir, I am. I have a good consultant.
And
You know, this is the fact that the question about property tax really comes up so frequently as I'm knocking on doors, and we've now knocked on more than 5,000 doors in the district, so I've heard a lot about it. There are people that really are afraid that they're not going to be able to stay in their homes. That is unconscionable. And that is not Texan, because that's why people dreamed about coming here in the first place. Land availability and the ability to have put down roots. You know, if you're living in Plano, 27 cents out of every dollar that goes to your school district is not being spent there. It's being spent somewhere else. That equals $155 million that are going to Robin Hood and to recapture. That is taxation without representation, in my opinion, because you have no voice in how that money is spent when it leaves your district. Another interesting thing about Plano voters in particular is that your PISD taxes are 66% of your bill. It's not just a little bit, it's a lot. And that, for an average homeowner, is something like $44 extra a month this year over last year. We absolutely need property tax reform, and it begins with untangling the recapture convolutedness that we have as a state.
thank you, Candy. And this one's for you first, Candy. Share the provisions of Senate Bill 6 from the 85th Legislature and your position on this legislation.
And that again is the bathroom.
That's the bathroom, the privacy.
The privacy. You know, I'm a mother of daughters and granddaughters. Whenever they go into a private place in a building, I want to know that they're safe. And you know, there are no security cameras in bathrooms, and never should there be security cameras in bathrooms or locker rooms. But I want to know when they go in there that they're going to be safe. And you know what? This is important to me. It's important to me that our privacy is protected wherever we are. I am absolutely in favor of the bathroom bill in government buildings, and that was portrayed badly, that it was any building that would affect our businesses. when they are in a government building or in a school, they should be able to go into a bathroom and have their privacy protected, whatever gender you are.
Thank you, John.
I've been very transparent on this issue. I've been very clear on this issue when it came up over a year ago on the radio. Kathy and I have talked about the fact that we don't even understand where something like this even comes from. Because as far as I've grown up, the boys were in the boys' locker room, the girls were in the girls' locker room. Now, I will tell you, as an adolescent, the boys wanted to be in the girls' locker room, and the girls didn't want the boys anywhere near the boys' and girls' locker room. I mean, but that's where it was at, because it was naughty. It was something like, ooh, I get to see something I'm not supposed to see. Well, if that was what we're built on, that's who we are, then why are we trying to change who we are for 0.02% of our society? First of all, the cost to taxpayers is ridiculous to go in and try to reformat the entire restroom system in our federal park system, our state park system, in our federal government buildings, our state government buildings, our county government buildings, our city government buildings. This doesn't stop. This goes on and on and on. The cost alone is not effective. But let's look at the social and the cultural impacts that that has. What are we doing? Are we not taking away what Adam and Eve was punished for? When they went and they took a bite out of the fruit and their eyes opened up, nudity wasn't a thing. But we've done that. They've done it. Do we re-expose our young people to that? We don't. We protect the privacy, not only of our children, but protect my privacy. So, yes, in favor.
Thank you.
Oh, JP
Okay, John. Do you support school choice in Texas? And if so, explain how this would not harm public education and the public school students who choose to remain in public schools.
Re-ask the question one more time.
Do you support school choice in Texas? And if so, explain how this would not harm public education and public school students who choose to remain in the public schools.
Okay. If you go to my website, you'll find out very quickly, I say on there, hey, we support school choice. That's not an issue. School choice takes on a lot of different faces. First of all, under our current law, I don't know that a lot of people understand that we have the right to school choice now. We have that right. That right looks at homeschooling. That right looks at going into charter schools. So we already have those things. My daughter, Katerina, was moderately dyslexic with dysgraphia. As a parent, I'm going to do whatever it is I can do to make sure that she gets the best possible education, regardless. You ask, are there harms or no harms? My first response to that is this. We are harming our public education now by not understanding, not being transparent on where our money is being spent. The argument is that half of the money that's supposed to go towards education is not going to education at all. And so why on earth are we going to throw another apple into the cart before we even understand where the expenditures of our monies are going today? Not just recapture money, but how many of you have heard of the business margins tax? Raise your hand if you've heard of the business margins tax. How many of you knew the business margins tax was supposed to fund education? Raise your hand if you knew that. Right, you didn't know that. We as Texans aren't even being told what's supposed to be funding education, where the money is going into education. You want to fix that? Send a statement out to every single Texan that itemizes where our money is being spent. Then come talk to me about harms.
I have a degree in education. My parents are educators. I have two daughters that are educators. This is so important to me. But I know, and you know, that one size does not fit all. It doesn't fit all in any way in life, especially in education. You know, I have a son-in-law who works as a speech pathologist, but he's pulled out of that room continuously the kids that he's supposed to be working with to help with a special education kid who is, or not a special, he's not a special education kid, but he's pulled out to deal with a child down the hallway that is emotionally disturbed and destructive in the school, and that kid is tearing the place up and keeping him from working with the kids he needs to work with. Believe me when I say we need educational choice. That child needs to be in a situation that's better suited for him than his neighborhood school. And when we say that only the public schools can provide what they need, we are not looking at the big picture. We're not looking at individual children, their needs, and the needs of their parents. Now, when we talk about educational choice, I really don't think we're talking about a very big number of children. I think just a few children probably would be better served. By the way, I have one of my daughters is a homeschool mom, so I believe in educational choice. We live it in our family, and I am very in favor of educational choice so that one size does not fit all for our Texas children.
Thank you, Candy. And this one's for you first. What is your view of term limits in general, and would you support term limits for members of the Texas Legislature to no more than 3 terms?
Great question. Barb Carlos is here tonight. She's talked to me about this a lot. She said that, when they were working on the Constitution originally, they actually talked about that, and they discarded it as a bad idea. We do have term limits, and it is called elections. In theory, I like the idea of having someone just serve a few terms. But what we need to guard against is having the bureaucrats be the only ones that are knowledgeable about what's going on in our government. We need to not have people that are already on the payroll of the government telling those that are elected how everything works. We need some institutional knowledge in our government. Now, if we had you said 3 terms?
Yes.
That would be 6 years in the Texas House. That would be a turnover, a third of the legislature every time. I think that's too short if you're going to do term limits, that you probably need 12 years just to have the institutional knowledge. However, in principle, I am opposed to term limits.
Thank you, John.
I remember when Dick Armey and Newt Gingrich came out with the Contract for America, and they proposed term limits. And I remember being excited about it. Throw them bums out. I remember getting all jacked up, I think is what the term we used back then. And then I got a little older and a little wiser. Then I visited with Barbara Harless. And I visited with a lot of other people. And I started to think through the process. With term limits, number one, first of all, I'm opposed to term limits. Let's be clear. I think term limits are done by elections. You vote people out that don't do a good job. You keep people that are doing a great job so they continue doing a great job. Bureaucrat, can you hear? Check, 1, 2. Oh, it's died. Did it turn on?
No, it's off. It's
It
done.
did. It's died. I killed it. No, I killed it. Where was I? I'm opposed to term limits. Boy, Mark, I think you did it on purpose. I'm opposed to term limits for several reasons. Number one, bureaucracy will carry the day. Your voice as a citizen is no longer heard, especially somewhere like DC or Austin, where you're so far away from the actual constituency base that representative actually represents. Think about it for a second. If I've got to leave after 6 years, you bring in a new state rep or a new house rep or a new anybody rep, then you've got a man or a woman who's been there for 30 years. You're going to look at that person, okay, where are we at? How did we get started? By the time you finally get fired up and understand, by the time you finally do it, it's time for you to leave office. Coalitions aren't built. You aren't able to represent your district. I am opposed to term limits. JP for HD.
Candy, you're going to have to come up with Well, no, we're going to go back to you, John. We gave you a mulligan on that because you had a mic issue. Do you believe, John, in negative campaigning is effective? And do you believe you or your campaign has engaged in negative campaigning during this election cycle?
You know, one of the things I think that Candy and I both can say is we don't believe in negative campaigning. And we have not. For 27 years and 7 election cycles, I have said from day one, I was 18 years old, said from day one, I will never negative campaign, ever. I'm not going to be slanderous. I'm not going to personally attack somebody. It's just not going to happen. I want the people that elect me, and as a person elected, to represent you based on what I do. What I've laid down is the groundwork of who I am and who I show you by the skins that I have on the wall, from what I have been able to show you by what I've done in the office you've trusted me to. And so I am who I am, and this is what I believe. And I ask you to vote for me, not based on something that may be innuendo or slanderous, and Candy has not. So don't take that as me saying she has. It's not an inference at all. Based on my policies, based on what I believe, based on being a God-fearing, Republican, conservative citizen, is why I ask you to vote for me. I don't talk about Candy at the doors. I'm sure she doesn't talk about me at the doors. It's about my candidacy and who I am. And again, I ask you to vote JP for HD.
Thank you, Candy. It's your turn.
Work on that, Candy.
I'll tell you, I have really appreciated this about our race. It has been about our issues and about our qualifications and what we can do in Austin. And I have not heard anything negative from John, and I really, really appreciate that.
Thanks, Candy. And in 10 words or less, describe your political philosophy. You're welcome to use single-word descriptors like party affiliation, adjectives. How do you describe yourself?
10 words. God-fearing, freedom-loving, gun-toting, fiscal, social, conservative. That's 10.
Good job. John, same for you.
Ditto. That was one. I thought you were pretty good. Same thing. I mean, God-fearing, first and foremost. Constitutional caring. Constitutional conservative. Republican. Family. Socially, fiscally conservative. Grassroots. Is that one word or 2 words? It's hyphenated. One word, excellent. Thank you. Grassroots citizens.
Thank you, John. Okay, and John, for you, would you share any notable clubs, organizations, or associations that have endorsed you?
Just recently, we were endorsed by the Grassroots Wiley Tea Party. We have been endorsed by 4 mayors out of the district, out of Fairview, Lucas, Lavon, and Allen. The city council for Allen have all endorsed, but supported by Bain. Endorsed by Wiley ISD school board members, Plano ISD school board members. Endorsed by the Texas Association of Realtors. Endorsed by the Texas Restaurant Association, Texas Academy of Family Physicians, Independent Bankers Association, and endorsed by the Texas Anesthesiologists as well, and as well as the Texas Academy of Engineers. Not to mention 1,500 grassroots members of House District 89. Hardworking kids that I've seen in court, parents, teachers, professionals in the community that nobody knows. They're not elected officials. They don't go to political meetings. They just want good, solid citizen representation.
Thank you, John. Andy?
I wish I brought my list with me. I am so proud of the endorsements that I've gotten. I have Grassroots McKinney. I have Concerned Women of America. I have Texas Values. I have Scott Sanford and Matt Schicken and former Representative Scott Turner's endorsements. I have many, many of you in this room, and I'm so proud and so grateful. I have 7 of the mayors from House District 89 that have endorsed me. I'm very proud of that, and I'm grateful for their friendships and for their endorsements. And my most treasured endorsement is of Governor Greg Abbott, and I'm very, very proud of that.
Thank you, Candy. Okay, now we're going to go to the lightning round, and we are running long, so keep it short. These are one-word answers, please. Yes, no, pass. We'll start with Candy. Yeah, you have to pass quickly. Candy, have you ever been convicted of a felony?
No.
No.
John, do you support constitutional carry in Texas?
Oh, yes.
Andy?
Absolutely.
Andy, will you support term limits if it comes up to a vote in the Texas House?
No.
Oh, no.
John, do you support the Texas Republican platform in its entirety?
No, sir.
Andy?
Yes.
Okay. Andy, would you support legislation that would cap future state budget increases to population plus inflation growth?
Yes, I would.
Oh, yes.
Okay, and the next question again was one written by the lawyer. Would you, and John is a JP McDonald.
I've got this.
Would you oppose any state budget that increases more than population plus inflation?
Yes. Keyword increase.
Would you oppose any state budget that increases population more than population plus inflation?
I sure would.
Okay. Andy, would you support legislation decriminalizing the use of illicit drugs, including marijuana?
No.
Hell no.
John, would you vote for, have you voted for a Democrat in the last 20 years?
Lord, no.
Absolutely no.
Andy, have you ever donated money to a Democrat candidate or office holder?
Absolutely not.
John?
Only the Collin County Republican Party. Sorry, Mark.
I'm trying to digest that. John, would you identify yourself as a Republican, a conservative, a Democrat, a liberal?
Conservative.
Andy?
Republican.
Okay. All right. You each have a minute and a half to make closing remarks. And Candy, since you started, we'll let John start with this.
First of all, it has been my pleasure to be able to come out and be at these forums, getting to talk about the things that I believe, the things that I would like to do down in Austin, and I appreciate the citizen involvement. For the 27 years that I have been in office, grassroots has been essential. Essential for every operation of government as far as I'm concerned, whether it's state level, municipal level, or not. And what's interesting, the last 2 nights that you have had a forum, the JP candidates running have made it clear that, hey, John Payton sets the standard. He's out there rolling up his sleeves, working hard in the community, and making a difference. I want HD 89 to be the most active citizen group in the state of Texas. I want to take the voice of HD 89 down to Austin, not bring the voice of Austin back to Collin County. We don't need that. And I don't support that mechanism. Kathy Adams and Homer Adams have not only endorsed our campaign, have done a video for our campaign, but believe so much in our conservative values. Last Saturday, when it was drizzling rain and freezing cold, they walked over 100 households for John Payton for HD. That's the commitment. We had over 42 volunteers last Saturday out in the cold, drizzling rain or making phone calls for JP for HD. That doesn't happen by accident. It happens because I care about our community, I love our community, and I want to take our community voice down to Austin, Texas, and represent HD 89 down in Austin, Texas. JP for HD.
Thank you, John. Candy?
That's the last time.
I care deeply about our state, about our nation, about our kids, our grandkids, and it is important to me that we leave Texas better than it is today for them. Not debt, not bad government, but I tell you what, I am absolutely dedicated to protecting innocent life from the womb to natural death. I am absolutely dedicated to reforming property taxes and making sure that you're not renting your house from the government, but that you own it, just as Texans have from the beginning. I am absolutely committed to making sure that we invest in transportation and good roads and not divert those monies that should be going to transportation to other things. I am absolutely committed to making sure that the people of HD 89 are represented well in Austin. Though you already know where I stand on issues, I have voted on them on your behalf on the SREC. I'm not a big question mark on where I stand. I am a conservative. I'm very proud of that. I am dedicated to limited government, to fiscal responsibility, and absolutely dedicated to defending innocent life. And I would be honored to serve you at HD 89. If you are a voter from HD 89, I ask for your vote. If you're a voter from another area, I ask you for your support. Candy Noble for HD 89. Thank you.
Thanks, Melissa.